reactive forms, how to use the form controls, nested forms, how do we update the nested forms and all, right? So in the Angular forms, so these are the topics that we discussed in the example. We have seen how to create a reactive form, and how do we create and configure nested forms, actually how to define the nested forms and create and configure the nested forms. So parent form, child form, and how do we apply them and access the content and using the content. One example we tried. Next, in the reactive forms, we have to understand about how do we create and configure the forms by using a form builder. So the next important concept you have to know here is about how do we configure the forms by using form builder. How we can deal with the form builder in reactive forms. Form builder in reactive form. Yeah. Reactive form. Actually, what is the purpose of this form builder? So what is the intention of this form builder? Actual form builder is a service provided by Angular to configure forms and its elements. Form builder is a service provided by Angular to configure forms and its elements dynamically, dynamically. You know that generally service means form builder uses singleton pattern. Actually, earlier in the previous examples, what is the problem that you have seen actually? So we need to create a form, then FRM registered, and it should be defined as a new form group. In that form group, suppose I want to create a control, then I need to create some name as a new form control. Every time when you need a control or when you need a form, you need to create an object for it. We have to create an object dynamically. For every control, we need to create an object. For every control, we need to create an object. For every child form, we need to create an object. Several objects in the memory leads to slow performance. Then can we configure one object which can handle all controls? One object can handle all the controls. So that's better. But if you are individually dealing with only one control, then this is okay. But if you are dealing with several controls simultaneously, then better use a form builder. Through one object, you can access all of them. How we will see that? Actually, form builder, form builder, technically form builder provides three important provides methods. So like we have a group method, we have a control method, we have an array method. Actually, group method, so group method configures a form group. It configures a form group. So that means it can be like an input, it can be like a select, like this, the form controls. And array, we have an array. It configures a collection. It configures a collection of form controls. Array is a collection of form controls. The advantage is you can add or remove controls dynamically. Add or remove controls dynamically by using a form array, because array supports a lot of manipulations on that. We will see how to deal with them. So form is created by using, and control is created by using a control method, and array is created by using an array method. And the properties which are used to bind the controls with any element in the UI are, what are the properties for form builder? Form builder uses, technically form builder uses the following properties, properties. You can say that the properties to bind with, following properties to bind with the elements in UI. What are the properties actually? We have form group property. It is used for binding. It is used for binding parent form. We have form group name. It is for binding child form. Form control name. It is for binding form elements. We will see how they will work. And very important is form builder is a member of Angular Forms library. It is a member of Angular Forms library. So you have to import that Angular Forms library to create. And it is a service. You know how to define service, how to configure the service, how to use the service. You know that. Predefined service. It is a predefined service. So let's create one example. I will add here a new component. Let's generate a new component. ng generate component, builder demo, and skip test. Okay, builder demo and skip test. So how we can create a form and controls by using form builder. Let's keep this builder demo. And we define here as, so builder demo. Right. Now here important is when we deal with this, that is builder demo, here important is how you create a form now. let's go and see how we can design a form. So in the TypeScript file, we are importing the form builder from Angular Forms. So import from Angular Forms. So you import a form builder class. That is the form builder class. This provides a service. Service means it is a builder actually. Means it's a class. You inject this into the component. That means in the constructor. So form builder. So we will create a private form builder reference. It is of type form builder. Now, what we will do is we will configure. So technically we will configure. So a form, FRM register. Generally, FRM register will use this dot form builder service. In that group is a method. This group method is a form. A form is created. Okay. What are the elements you want in the form? Now this time, that means now one memory is allocated for form group. So it can handle both parent forms, child forms, and their controls without allocating memory dynamically. You have to just initialize. Memory is allocated. It is ready. Now object is created only once, and this you can use. Now what are the controls you want? So you can directly define them. Name, and it is a control. And name control, what properties you want. Currently what value. Earlier, how to create an element, we have to create as a new form control or form group. Here simply you can just define the memory, initialize, and you can pass the property. Memory is already initialized for form builder. You are defining the controls. So for price, so what value you want. What other properties we can give, I will show. And FRM details. This is a child form. And this dot, FB dot, it is again a group. So memory is initialized. Object is created and the object is used for all others. That means inside the parent form, you have another child form. Child form is defined again with form group. It is defined again with the form group. And the city, suppose here we are defining city. City is what value you want into it. So default empty. Suppose I said in stock also I want empty. So that is how we can allocate the memory. Earlier, for every control, you need to dynamically allocate the memory for every element. You need an object to handle. You need an object to be created every time to handle every element. But now the object is created once at the time of loading your component. The service is injected, memory is allocated, and you can directly use it. Here you are not allocating memory, you are using the memory. You are defining the memory. In that memory, you are configuring these details. This is the basic advantage of form builder. Previously, when you observe, so we created here parent and child forms, every time memory allocated. This is very complex, especially when you are dealing with a lot of controls in a form. And if you want a continuous memory to maintain across the controls connected like architecture, then better use a form builder. So otherwise, if you are dealing with individual controls, then so the memory allocated and the memory is disposed for that object. Actually, what is the problem in form builder is the form builder destroys the memory. That means automatically the complete memory allocated for all controls are removed. For all controls are removed. So individually, you cannot deal with every control. Actually, we need to do that in different situations. For example, you have username, password. Majority times the password is disposed and only username is remembered. So that next time username is given to you and password you have to enter. That will change according to the situation and the requirement. So a form builder is a service. Through this you can easily manage. And rest of presentation, same, no change. Presentation, how you define is the same, how you configure for the other. How you configure for the other. That means how to bind this form builder. How you bind the form builder. How do we configure it? Let's see. So that means we are just using a div, a class as container fluid, and we have a div. So just class as row, and we have just div, and we have the class as call3. Okay, and let's keep a heading. So some register product. And how do we bind the form builder this time? We have a form. And now you have to use a property that is form group. Form group. It refers to FRM register. That is the form group. This is from the service. And in this, we have a field set with a legend saying that basic info. And in that, we have a data list. So with the data term name. And we need a text box to bind with. Input type is equal to text. Type is equal to text. And class as form control. Class as form control. And how do we bind the object here? By using the property. So by using the property. So we define as form control name. Control name. That is an attribute. And the form control name is referring to name. It is referring to the name. Now similarly, so how you define another data term, that is price, and data definition. So input. So this is for form control name. This is for price. This is for price. Type is equal to text and class as form control. Everything same. Only the configuration of the controls. Configuration of the control is different. How do you configure the control and how do we handle the control is different. The presentation is same. The presentation as we done earlier, it is same. So after the name and price binded here, and I will create another field set. And so legend. So here I will give another category as stock details. And we have a div. This is the child form inside the parent form. And child form is defined by using form group name. Form group name. And FRM details. This is for FRM details. In that again we have a data list data term. This is city and a control data definition. So we have a select and it is defined as class. This is as form control name. Again, form control name is equal to form control name is city and the class is form control. We are directly binding that. So we have some options here. We have option here, so Delhi, and we have an option like Hyderabad. Okay. And similarly, another data term. So this is for in stock. in stock, or say simply like some stock status, right? And data definition, we configure here input type is equal to checkbox, and here we are attaching the form control name. Control name is equal to, this is in stock. That is the basic approach of how we can add it, how you can configure it. So this is all the options that we are configuring and defining here. And in that column, so we are mentioning all of these details. That is the column. And I want to display that. That means I will just use a div, and in this class as 9, in the right panel, we will display all the details. That means all the details of the products defined in those forms. Handling it is same, no change. So data list, data term, name. How you access it, same, no change. That means here we are being FRM registered. In that value, it will collect, it will return the form object in that name property. And price, same. So it will get from FRM registered dot value dot price. We are defining that price. Okay, now the same we are configuring for others. And city, this time nested form, how to access, you know that FRM registered dot value that returns the form. In that FRM details, in that we have city. That's how we access a nested form. Of course, stock. So data definition, and here we just use the binding expression FRM registered dot value dot FRM details dot in stock. So if it is in stock is equal to true. If it is equal to true, that means it returns a boolean. Then it say available, and otherwise out of stock. In this example, I am not using a form array. I will use a form array in another occasion. We will see that. So how we can use a form array and a form builder combinations. Currently in this, we are using just a form group and a form control. Control also, when to create and use this control, I will tell you. Currently, I am using only form group here. So how do we work with the control and array? We will see in another example. Everything is configured by using a single form group. Now, one object is enough to handle both forms and its elements. Earlier, we need a form group object for handling a form control object to handle a control. Now here, one object is enough to handle all of them. Whether it is a form, whether it is a form element, this single object can manage everything. Only one object is there, form builder. This form builder object is managing everything. It has a group. Through group, you are configuring both controls, form and its elements. Now let's run this and see. You can see this is the appearance. Of course, the functionality also same. Now I'm entering some details here, and it will get me the details and display. I'm entering some price. It will get the price and display. I'm changing the city. I'm selecting in stock, remove, it will be displayed. Everything same, no change. So if you are dealing with large scale forms and there all the controls must be disposed at one single stage, we don't need to maintain the controls individually. So why we need to maintain the controls individually? So to handle them individually. in that case, so if you are not dealing individually, if you are dealing all the controls together, and there are large number of interactions to handle in the form, to design in the form, then better go with and better deal with the form builder service. By using the form builder service, you can allocate memory for form. And through one object, you can handle the form and its elements. That on one object will manage everything for you. So that is what the purpose of actually form builder is. Form builder is. In that form builder, you have just seen how to use that form group. So it is combination of both controls and all. Actually, configures a form group actually. This form group, so it configures a form group. So with a set of elements initialized, set of elements initialized. Individually, if you want to deal with a separate control, then you can use this form control. Why you need a form array? What is the purpose of form array? The main intention of array is keep the collection so that we can dynamically add and remove. So the first question is how that works, right? What is the intention? Let's see. Example, here I am using form builder, builder demo, something like builder demo dot component dot ts. In the builder demo component dot ts, we are just adding this. We are injecting a form builder service and we are using the form builder service. And builder demo dot component dot html. In that builder demo dot component dot html, so we are using the presentation. Presentation is same how you defined. Only the point is the configuring of controls will change. Now, in this reactive approach, you need to know about another important is form array and form control. Form control. What is the purpose of form array and form control? Actually, form array allows to add or remove any form element dynamically. So you can add or remove the form elements dynamically. So it is configured by using array method, array method of form builder service, array method of form builder service. So actually it implements a TypeScript array which can use all array functions. So technically form array represents TypeScript array. So array and can make use of all array functions. All array functions like push, pop, so like slice, shift, and everything. So we can use all array functions like we can use push. So to add a new element into this, dynamically, pop to remove the last element. We can use remove at to remove the element based on the index number, specific index number. We can use shift to remove the first element. So we can add, you can remove, so we can manage everything. All array functions are supported here. So dynamically, we need to handle the controls. Now let's see what is the necessity of this. and how we can handle this. What is the necessity and how we can handle this. I will do few changes into this design. For example, for product, we are mentioning some details. For product, we are configuring some details. Okay, here form builder is having the configuration for name, price, and details. Now, actually in the form, some set of options, some controls we need to add or remove dynamically. Some controls we need to add or remove dynamically. For example, one basic example, like suppose, so we are defining, so name, okay, and configuring the name. Yeah, so we are configuring something like name, okay, and we have some photo. So this is the product name. So that is the product name. And here we have photo. For that we given a text box, and we maintained another text box for photo. Yeah, means actually another file upload control. That means you can browse and you can choose a file. We maintained a file upload control, right? Now the point is, you can upload several photos for that particular product. Actually, if you can upload several photos in the file upload itself, we can give a multiple option so that it allows to select multiple. But many times we don't want all to be selected through one. What we will do is, we will keep an option, add more. When user clicks on this add more, that means when user clicks on this add more button, then I want this set of form, this set to repeat again. Another photo should come. When I click add more, then one more should come. That means the controls should be added dynamically to the form depending on situation. And if I say remove, it should remove that control. That means dynamically our form should be able to add and remove the controls. Now, how you actually manage this? How to handle this? How do we manage this? That means this is very regular in forms. Suppose I selected some hotel booking and all, you will see regularly websites. When you select that you are not Indian, so then immediately when you select the checkbox, some more additional form fields will come. In that you have to fill up your passport, visa details and everything. If you remove that checkbox, then that portion of additional fields will be removed from the form. That means a form should have different behaviors according to the situation. It should have different behaviors. It should configure different behaviors. In that case, generally, how we can manage that, how we can configure and manage that is very important. So let's see how we can configure and manage that. So technically, to do this, so we are creating another option here, is nothing but this is the parent form, FRM register. In that, two elements are there and a child form. I will create another object. I will create another reference for new controls. I will create a property, new controls. Our form can have new controls. And this new controls is a array type. That means this dot fb dot array. It is an array type. It is an form array. Now, usually array is a collection of controls. That means array of controls. How you will allocate memory for a control in array? If you remembered, so we learned that in polymorphism concept we discussed that you can allocate different types of memories in array. That means we learned already in polymorphism that it can handle different types of memory. But here only one type of memory. That means array should be handling, not a string. So it should be handling a control. If it should handle a control, then the memory also should be control type only. How do you allocate control type memory? Allocate control type memory by using this dot form builder dot control method. And control will have a lot of options. Currently control value empty. That's it. That means new controls is a collection of extra controls. Currently the memory allocated for the array is control type. So which control type? A form builder control type. Controls are defined individually by using control method. Collection of controls are defined. Collection of controls are defined by using collection of controls are defined by using this array. That means new control is an array. New controls is an array. You see, it is a form array because it is using a form builder array. And array of what type of elements inside it? Control types elements. Array of control type array, memory is allocated for it. Okay, good. That means now we have an object. So here we have an object. You can see we have an object. This is FRM register. In this FRM register, we have new controls property, which is of type array. I want to access this property and get the value, set the value into the property. If I want to get and set value into a property dynamically, then better define accessor for this property. By using the accessor, you can get the value and set the value. That means you create an accessor for this property, so that through that accessor, you can access that property, you can get the control, you can set the control. You can get and set the control. Then how you will create a getter? By using getter, you can access it. Let's create a getter for this property. Why to create a getter? Because if you don't create getter, then how to access this new controls inside FRM register? To access new controls in FRM register, you have to use a lengthy hierarchy every time. What is that hierarchy? This dot FRM register, in that we have new controls, right? And in that we have to access the options like push, like pop. This is a lengthy concept. Every time you have to do this. Let's create a proper accessor. Through that accessor, we will access this new controls. So create an accessor for that new controls for a property so that you can easily handle. How to create accessors? Already we learned in TypeScript, get and property name, new controls. Okay, good. What this accessor should do? That means what this accessor should do. Technically, this accessor should able to return this new controls property. It should able to return that new controls property. So then how it will return the new controls property? That by using return. So this dot FRM register dot dot. You can use get method. Get method. So get method. Which property you want to get? I want to get new controls property. Okay. This property is of what type? You have to tell which type it is. It is of type. That means it is as. As is used to tell what type it is. What type it is? As form array type. It is a form array type. You saw that it is a form array type. That means this new controls is a form array. If you want to access that control, you have to tell what type of control you are accessing and what type of control you are returning, what type of property you are returning. If it is string, you have to simply say as string. If it is number, as number, but it is a form array type. Why you created this? Because if I can create such accessor for that property, now I don't need to follow this lengthy hierarchy every time in order to access that new controls. It should work for new controls. Yeah. So that means it is accessing new controls property and it is managing that property directly by using this accessor. Now what you can do is you can use this accessor anywhere. Inside the class, you can directly use the accessor. Into that, you can push the values, you can remove the values, you can deal with. That means actually this new control is an array type. It is an array of controls. It is an array of controls. Okay, up to this, everything is fine. It is an array of controls. Okay, then how you will add a control? How you will remove control dynamically? To add and remove controls dynamically, I will create a method. So public add photo. Okay, what this method have to do is it should add a new control into this array. That means how do we add this dot new controls? It is a property into that push. What I have to push? A control we have to push into it. How to push a control? This dot FB dot control. We are pushing a new control into it. So its value is empty. Add photo is a function which adds a new control into that array. Currently, how many controls are present in that array? Currently, how many controls are present in that array? You can see currently it is having one control. Already it is having one control because I haven't kept array empty. I allocated one form control type. That means already one control is there. Push will add one more control into it. And whenever you call add photo function, it will push a new control again and again. So several new controls can be added by calling this add photo. How to remove? I want to remove specific. Then I will create another method, remove photo. Remove photo is a method. And we will collect the index number. So I will pass some I value into this index number. Okay, I need to remove that index related photo. Then simply from the array, how to remove this dot new controls dot remove at. We can use remove at. Which index number? I is the index number. So from where we will pass this I in the UI, we will design it. In the UI, we will create that. So we created a form array now. And we configured a form array. At the same time, form array contains controls. You can add controls, you can remove controls dynamically. What type of control? That's your wish. You can add any type of control. Dynamically, you can add any type of control. Any type of control. Any type of control. Let's see. So we created an accessor. Through that, we are accessing that property. We are adding and removing elements into it. Let's go to the builder, HTML. In the HTML, after displaying the stock details, what I will do here is after configuring in the field set, I will create another div here. Okay. In the div, I will just keep a heading saying that upload photo. Upload photo is the heading. And in the heading, I will add a button. I will add a button here. And so this button class I will give as BTN and BTN link. It looks like a link button actually. Okay. And this button will contain an option add more. Add more. It contains the option add more. So I just given the option add more. Okay. That is the button actually. So in the design, you can see upload photo and you have an option add more. So we configured that add more option here. Okay. So it's depends on how you want to configure and define that. Okay. You can keep in the header itself, I will keep. That means in the header. So in the header, I will keep that. So that means at the header place, we are keeping that content add more. You can see just beside that, it will have add more. But already that I need one control here. First, I need one control here. So which collection is having a control? I need to display control below this. And remember here, I have to display a collection. I have to display a collection. We need to display a collection. How you can configure a collection and how we can define the collection. So adding the options and defining the option, how we can configure that. So how you can define that? Let's see. That means under this, what is our collection name? Our collection name is new controls. New controls is a collection that contains collection of controls. Already by default, it has one control. I will bind that here. How to access and use it? You can use an iterator. You need an iterator in order to deal with any collection. So I will just give some style as some margin top, as some pixels, 20 pixels. Okay, fine. Now I need an iterator. Iterator, you know how to create an iterator. How do you configure an iterator? Iterator is, we are using ng for now let control of collection, new controls, control of new controls. New controls, in that controls, what type of memory is there? We have to access new controls dot controls. It will return the list of all controls. Actually, length will return count. We don't want count, we want to return those controls. That means, so now you are performing iteration over the total number of controls present in this new controls. It will return how many controls are present, how many controls are present. And we want to get its index number also. And how do we get the index number? So let, iteration index number. So we will put I is equal to index. Iteration index number will be returned. Okay. Now, this is a control. We have to attach it to an HTML element. And what is that HTML element? HTML element is input type is equal to file. To this, I need to attach this control, which is an iterator. Attach this control, which is an iterator. That means the form control name, we have to use form control name. Form control name. Form control name is equal to, I will use the index number as control name. Because we cannot give a standard name, because if I give a standard name, later when I add one more control, that control also will have the same name. Conflict will happen with the same name. Index number is good because for every control, index number will be 1, 2, 3, 4 growing. So every control will have a unique reference name. That means it will have the I as a reference name for the control. Okay, that means you can see that by default, one file upload control comes here. Control comes here. Now, when I click on add more button, I need to call a method called add photo. This add photo method will push a new control into that array. Let's see. That means what we will do is on the button click, we will call add photo function. Add photo function. On the button click, we are calling add photo function. Now observe carefully here. We have the photo, upload photo, add more. I click on add more. That means one more control will come. That's good. I click on add more. That means one more control will come. You can choose files. Here I am selecting one file. I'm selecting one file. Here I am selecting another file. Here I am selecting some other files. So another file. Here I am selecting another file. So that means we are adding several more options. I am selecting another file. And of course, so we want to add one more file. Then I will click on this add more. Then it will generate one more. You can choose another file. At the same time, we must able to remove that controls dynamically. Add the controls, remove the controls dynamically. So remember in the design, so when you go to the inspect, in the inspect, so when you are configuring and adding the controls here, so in the div, in this div here we have the container. Okay. Yeah, here we are having the div where we generate the other options here. Let's keep this. Okay. The form content where it is generating in the data term, data definition. And the content is this upload photo. I think this is all in the first form itself, huh? Right? Yeah. In that form, we have form, and in the form content stock details, we have a div container, and we have these options defined here. Okay. And you can see that these are all the controls. And all the controls added. This is first control. This is the second control. This is the third control. And when I click on add, this is the last control. I click on add more. One more div will be added here. That means it is adding one more file upload control here. We can add the controls dynamically. Of course, we can remove the controls dynamically. How you want to remove the control dynamically? Just already remove method is there, into that we can pass. How to remove from an array already we know. We will pass that into that dynamically, how we can remove that. So generally, so to remove, so what we will do is just beside that, we will create a button. We will create a button. And for this button, so we will define the class as this is also BTN link. So we are just defining the class BTN and BTN link. And here I said remove. And this should call on click, it should call the remove photo method. Into that we will pass the I as index. That means it will remove that particular, because remove photo, it is expecting the index number and removing the control at that specific index number. So we are dealing with that. So let's run this and see here now. And in the design, you can see the remove is present. You can keep anywhere. So below, so beside, wherever you want. Design is your wish. I click add more. One more will come. I click on add more. That means I am clicking on add more. One more set will come. I want to remove any one specific, anyone I want to remove. Then click on the remove. It will be removed. And I click on remove. Then it will be removed. I click remove. It is removed. We can add controls. We can add the controls. We can remove the controls dynamically. You can manage the controls dynamically. That is the intention. That is the main intention of using. A form array. So form array and form control. Array is a collection of controls. Array is defined by using array method. Control is defined by using the control method. We are allocating memory for the controls. In this example, only the simple point. We created a new controls collection. It is an array of controls. And we are accessing that through an accessor, as it is as form array type. and we are pushing new controls into it. We are removing from it. So you are manipulating the form dynamically. Depending on the requirement, depending on the situation, it is adding and it is configuring the controls dynamically. That is what actually the form builder is, form builder. Same example. So same example. So builder demo.component.ts. Just only one extra work we have done is in this builder demo component, we added a form, the same previous example, but additionally, we added this new controls. We added that new controls and we created a property for accessing those controls. So accessing those controls. And we used methods for adding and removing the controls dynamically. So form builder demo right here. So builder demo.component.html. In this, nothing but we just created an iterator which can iterate over the controls present in that collection and create an element. So you can create any type of control. Just we have to use the form control name. Here I am using the file upload control, and we are duplicating the control and defining the control for the situation. Right? That is how we configured the form builder. So form builder, which is more better for dealing with complex forms and dealing with the forms which you can handle dynamically, configuring and working with the forms dynamically. So for that, we need to understand this, right? So this is the complete about the forms. Here, one more option you need to learn is how we can handle validation, technically how we can handle validation for the reactive forms, how we can deal with the validation in reactive forms, configuring the forms and dealing with validation in the reactive forms. Reactive forms validation is also simple, same, one attribute only. Additionally, you have to define. The rest of design and everything is same. Only one attribute you need to define. How the validations are handled in reactive forms, how they are configured, that we will discuss in our next session, right? So tomorrow we will continue with that. And tomorrow, don't miss tomorrow's session. We are going to, because validation is a simple thing, so it will finish in the first few minutes. Then we will go into a very important concept, that is Angular routing. So what is routing? How do we configure the routing? And how we can build an environment for single page applications. So with routing, we can build an environment for single page applications. We can learn the concept and working with routing. That we will see in tomorrow's session, right? Tomorrow we will continue with this, okay?